A beauty salon owner sits down with a lawyer, drafts an airtight independent contractor agreement, has it signed, and files it away. A year later, a labor auditor reviews that exact piece of paper, voids it instantly, and hands the owner a crippling bill for back taxes. Under state and federal law, the daily operational reality on the salon floor supersedes any administrative paperwork. Handing a worker a Form 1099 NEC offers zero legal protection if the host salon maintains control over their schedule, finances, or structural environment. The industry is facing a multi-agency enforcement squeeze. Regulators are executing new data-sharing agreements between state and federal agencies, enforcing shifting state labor laws, and auditing against a 2025 federal tax overhaul. Relying on legacy assumptions about booth rental is no longer a viable defense. But modern survival requires strict structural adaptation. At the turn of the 20th century, early commercial salons operated strictly on employee-based models. Owners managed heavy capital investments in real estate and specialized equipment, requiring direct control over their workforce to ensure returns. As technological innovations like the hot blast hairdryer and the Marcel curling iron were introduced, localized hair care rapidly centralized into highly structured downtown commercial spaces. By the mid-century, consumer styles began to evolve. Concurrently, the federal tax code started penalizing W-2 tipped operations by forcing employers to match payroll taxes on tips. This structural imbalance incentivized salons to transition their W-2 workers into independent booth renters, shifting the tax burden to the individual. The nail salon sector followed a distinctly different trajectory. After the fall of Saigon in 1975, an influx of Vietnamese refugees entered the trade, catalyzed by early training programs organized by actress Tippi Hedren. Accessible state licensing requirements, often needing only 300 to 600 hours of training, allowed this new cohort to rapidly scale their operations utilizing family labor. To manage this rapid expansion and maintain low consumer prices, these salons relied heavily on informal, cash-based commission splits that blurred the legal boundaries between independent contractors and statutory employees. Decades of shifting consumer styles, tax imbalances, and immigrant entrepreneurship organically built a decentralized, hybrid operational culture. Today, that exact culture is a prime target for objective, data-driven labor audits. The first major catalyst accelerating these audits stems from an unintentional data mapping event caused by the 2020 CARES Act. When thousands of self-employed 1099 beauty professionals applied for pandemic unemployment assistance, they were required to list their host salons. This inadvertently fed a direct map of independent contractor usage straight into State Department of Labor databases. State agencies recognized that these host salons had never contributed state unemployment insurance taxes on behalf of these workers, triggering massive retrospective audits. The second catalyst is the One Big Beautiful Bill Act, or OBBBA, signed in July 2025. This federal legislation inverted the financial incentives of worker classification. This equation illustrates the OBBBA FICA tip credit formula. The legislation allows salon owners to claim a dollar-for-dollar tax credit against their federal income tax liability for the 7.65% FICA tax paid on reported W-2 employee tips. By subsidizing payroll liabilities for W-2 businesses, it creates a stark contrast with the 1099 model, where self-employed workers must still pay the full 15.3% self-employment tax. The mathematical advantage of the traditional booth rental model has collapsed under the combined weight of total state-level audit exposure and lucrative new federal tax credits. When an auditor arrives, they use precise operational metrics to determine true independent status, overriding any signed lease agreement. Under the IRS Section 530 Safe Harbor, one of the primary requirements is substantive consistency, a standard established in the Ren-Lin Corp. Court precedent. This split-screen matrix breaks down the strict division auditors look for. In the Ren-Lin ruling, the court determined that a salon cannot legally classify one group of stylists as W-2 employees and another group as 1099 independent contractors if both groups perform the exact same daily services under the same roof. On the operational side, a true independent contractor dictates their own schedule without seeking approval, and they retain absolute ownership over their personal client database if they choose to relocate. Financially, an independent contractor must set their own service menu and pricing, and process client payments through a point-of-sale and booking software entirely distinct from the host salon. Structurally, the contractor is required to purchase their own chemical lines and styling tools, and they must carry an active personal commercial liability insurance policy. If a salon owner mandates adherence to brand standards, requires the use of centralized booking software, or processes payments through a single cash register, they create an employment relationship. The 1099 paperwork immediately becomes legally void. Satisfying these federal IRS metrics is necessary, but multi-agency task forces also enforce highly localized, often stricter state labor standards. This map highlights California, governed by the strict AB5 ABC test. For an in-salon stylist, proving they perform work outside the usual course of the hiring entity's business, prong B of the test, is virtually impossible. Furthermore, as of January 1, 2025, the temporary legal exemption for licensed manicurists expired completely. New York offers a different compliance pathway. To legally operate independently, professionals must secure a distinct area renter license, and host salons must mandate specific wage bonds and insurance. Pennsylvania exposes a historical regulatory disparity. State law actively permits licensed barbers to rent chairs and operate independent businesses, but explicitly outlaws the exact same practice for licensed cosmetologists. A legally sound independent contractor structure in one state is classified as actionable wage theft in another. Universal compliance is a myth. The majority of the industry operates in a dangerous middle ground, the hybrid salon, which mixes W-2 employees with 1099 renters to maximize floor space. Forcing independent renters to integrate into a centralized brand identity or use a unified booking system results in automatic failure during an audit. Joint state and federal task forces are explicitly utilizing data sharing agreements to hunt for these exact cash-intensive hybrid service models. Attempting to combine centralized brand control with decentralized tax reporting is legally dead. Beauty operators must now choose between two strictly distinct, polar opposite structural architectures. This decision tree outlines two choices. Path A, integrated brand. Full W-2 employment captures tax credits and builds equity. Path B, commercial landlord real estate model. Practitioners operate autonomous microbusinesses requiring strict documentation, separate EINs, distinct POS systems, individual business licenses, and formal commercial leases. Written agreements and 1099 forms provide legal protection only when they perfectly reflect daily operational behaviors. In the modern regulatory era, there is no single correct business model. Survival demands absolute, unyielding alignment between the legal classification claimed on paper and the physical reality executing on the salon floor.